we are going to go ahead. Can you hear now? My homies, can you guys hear now? I think we got it fixed. The microphone was turned off. I think we should be good. But let's go ahead and start with some breath work again. I had no idea that the microphone was off. So go ahead and breathe in through the nose for 4 seconds. Actually, before we do the breath work, it's funny because, with the people that were on, I was like, hey, tell me where you guys are from. And then, as I was setting things up, and then I was just like, okay, cool. Nobody wants to tell me where they're from. That's all good. That should have been the first clue that the microphone was off. But go ahead and throw it into the comments if you want to let me know where you guys are from. It's always so interested to see where people are joining from. I was also wondering why it seemed like a lot of people were joining and then immediately leaving. And now I know it was the microphone. So my bad. But as always, we're going to begin with some breath work like we usually do. We're going to breathe in through the nose, prolonged inhale, then a prolonged exhale with a sigh, and then we're going to hold it at the bottom, all right? So go ahead and breathe in through the nose. Exhale with a sigh. Hold. Inhale. Exhale. Hold. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Hold. Amazing. All right, guys, today we are diving into the emotional body, the water body. As I have stated previously, you have 4 bodies. I have them tattooed on my fingers. You have your spiritual, your emotional, your physical, and your mental. Oftentimes, people act as if unity is just accepting one of these bodies and rejecting the rest. That is not the case, right? If we reject, if we suppress, if we do not put conscious energy towards witnessing, it manifests outside of us, right? It's the flashlight. It is disorganized. It is unorganized. The energy is scattered. We want to be like a laser beam. We want to be coherent. We want to be focused. So that requires bringing coherence to all 4 bodies. When you combine the 4 elements, that is when you tap into your ethereal body, if you will, right? That quintessence, if you will. So water is what moves through you. Water is fluid. It is the receptive principle. It is absorbing. Water takes the shape of the container that it is in, okay? And then it slowly reshapes that container, especially within, nature. We're talking about a natural, water, not necessarily like the plastic that you might buy at the store that holds a drink or something like that. But in the body, water is feeling. It is empathy. It is memory, right? Everybody talks about this. Water holds memory. The water that we drink right now has been processed through so many animals and different human beings through eons of time, and it holds within it that memory, which is really cool to think and meditate on. And it's the tide that rises before thought. It carries everything that the mind files away, right? So a lot of times you'll feel into the emotion, and then that will kind of like kick you into a pattern before you're consciously thinking about it. Our emotions are some of our most sacred teachers, and they should be honored as such, right? This is why people who are chasing vibration or only chasing high vibration are caught up in an illusion, because it's generally wanting to fragment or only accepting certain emotions. And it kind of like turns into this performative, emotions where it's like, hey, I'm calm, I'm peaceful, but really it's like they've really suppressed the lack of calmness, or the worriedness or the hypervigilance, and they're just disassociated, right? And so that isn't calmness. What we want is true containers that can hold the water, hold the emotions, not be consumed by them, but also tap into those energies, because all of them have so much energy that you can use for your manifestation, for your creation. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. All right. So every feeling either moves or stays. And you can see this played out in nature, right? Remember, reality is a reflection. It's teaching us, excuse me. I'm on day 3. This is the end of day 3 of the fast, going into day 4. This is generally, the hump where hopefully it stops, really consuming the body, but I'm like a little bit wavy right now. But we see this played out in nature, okay? In nature, when you see water that is moving, it is moving, right? It is abundant. Generally, it's drinkable, it's healthy. But when you see water that is stagnant, when it's pooling, that's where you get the mosquitoes. That's where it's like disease ridden. Okay. This is a physical mirror of our emotions. Water that is moving is healthy, meaning feeling the emotions, allowing the emotions to be, allowing them to move through you in a safe container, right? Water that is suppressed, that is stagnant, that is what becomes disease ridden, right? That is what generally these emotions will begin to pool and then will physically manifest sometimes as physical ailments, and require like a somatic release. Okay. But we see this example. Oh, excuse me. I didn't want to skip. Yeah. Water, feeling is information. Okay. It is grief that can complete itself. It is anger that turns into clarity. It is joy without a guard at the door. And the tide comes in, delivers, and then it returns to the sea, right? So we're safe to feel this. We don't need to control it. We just need to have safe containers to allow the waves to come in and not be consumed by them. But the held water, right? This is feeling where it becomes a threat to an identity or a performative identity. Okay. This is grief that is on a loop that we get stuck inside of and feel like we can't get out. We're consumed by it. It is anger that it swallows you. It is emotion that is managed, performed, or damned. And it's just a tide that isn't allowed to finish and come back into the sea. And so that's what we're going into. But fear in the emotional body has so many different faces. It is suppression that is dressed as positivity. It is good vibes only as the dam, right? Where it's just like, oh, these are the only things that I can feel, and you block everything else off. Well, blocking it off doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It is flooding where every feeling becomes the whole ocean, and your emotions become your identity, right? There isn't kind of like a balance. You're just so fully in that water body that it becomes you, where you carry things that aren't yours to carry. Okay. Carrying everything. It's loops, replaying old tides, right? Nostalgia, grievance, all of them just continue to replay. You get pulled into the past for whatever reason. It is weaponized water, right? This is guilt, it's tears, it's mood that are used to control or steer a room. And then there's also the drought, which is just kind of that like complacency, the pulling away, the numbing, where it's the I'm fine, right? Or not allowing yourself to feel. That was like a big piece for me was, the suppression of emotions where I was just completely numb to feeling. And I thought I was just a super chill dude. I was just like, yeah, I just don't feel these things. Not a lot gets me going, but I was completely numb, right? I wasn't tapping into any of the energy and I needed to feel it. I just thought it was bad to feel. So that was part of my journey. Love allows these emotions to move, right? Fear is what makes them stay. Fear is where we suppress it and then it pulls and it becomes stagnant. So, with any feeling, you can ask yourself, am I allowing this to move through me? Okay. Or am I holding it? Christine is an amazing teacher with these things. When we first came together, I remember we went to a temple and it was really cool. We had like a little cleansing ceremony. It was this beautiful moment for both of us, and we got to a waterfall and it was meant to be this like anger and rage release. And they're like, you know go up to the waterfall and scream as loud as you can. And Christine goes and she's just letting it roar. And then I'm at the waterfall and I'm just like, ah, and they're like, dude, let it out. And I'm like, oh, I just don't feel a lot of anger and rage. It's just not inside of me. And they're like, no, that's not true. You definitely have anger and rage. They're like, you're telling me you can look at what's going on in the world and you don't feel anger or rage? And I just wasn't accustomed to providing a space for it. Right. And fear. Fear was what was keeping me from tapping into it because I just, I didn't want to tap into it. I didn't want to feel that piece of me, but it's a piece of me. And whether I want to or don't want to, if I'm fragmenting or suppressing, that fragmentation is going to manifest outside of me. And I'm also cutting myself off from my own energy, right? So it doesn't serve anyone. But Christine is amazing because she teaches people how to do rage rituals, right? Where you can put on a song that allows you to just tap into the anger, and hit a pillow or throw a tantrum, right, in a safe space. And this allows you to move through these emotions. Some of the things that she had to teach me to really tap into with my emotional body was through using music, right? Putting on a song that is incredibly sad and just allowing myself to tap into grief or sorrow or sadness and just cry and not have a timeline of when it needs to move or when it needs to pass. Just be in it. Okay. Music is a powerful tool for this. I highly, highly recommend it, And as I have allowed myself to open up to feeling more, I have not been consumed by those emotions. It's like you can be the sky while you still have the ocean that is moving, creating these waves. But as I told you, this is energy. This is all energy. And manifestation requires energy, right? Movement requires energy. Being requires energy. And so suppression is just cutting yourself off. Water without banks drowns the field, right? We always talk about the masculine principle paired with the feminine. The banks are the masculine. It's giving it a place to move. It's giving it a ritual or a time to be filled. It's giving it direction so that you're not consumed by it. Because if there's no direction, if there's not that masculine principle, the emotions can come in and they can consume you. This is reactivity, right? The wave decides before you do. This is like the emotion comes in and then you're kicked into the pattern. This is where emotion becomes an identity, right? I'm an anxious person. I'm an angry person. This is just who I am. And if you keep reinforcing this is who I am, you're right, right? The universe is like, this is who you are. The mirror reflects back to you. This is who you are. This is why it's very important to differentiate between experiencing something and actually being something. This is where you drown others, okay? Every room that you hold, right? It's just like people are consumed by your emotions as well. You make it everybody's deal. This is where sympathy can be used as a currency. Where suffering is kept alive because it's more of like a transactional love, like coping mechanism, where if you can stay in this kind of like suffering mindset or victim mindset, right, people will express love to you because they feel bad for where you are at, but you're just holding yourself down, right? You're receiving what you want, but it's keeping you in a form of collapse. And this is also where decisions can be made in that emotional body in the mid wave. And so life is basically steered by whatever emotion you're consumed by. And these are the things that we want to expand out of, right? This is where we want to come out of that programmed box and step into that I am energy, a co creator, right? The giver of meaning, as we discussed yesterday. So you can dictate where are you expanding, where are you evolving, what serves you and what doesn't. So a tide can also be dammed. This is where the masculine principle is overly controlling, right? Where it just completely dams all the water. This is where it's I'm fine. This is where you do not feel safe to express and you do not feel safe to feel. This is where you can intellectualize your feelings, right? Describe these feelings so fluently that you never actually have to feel them, right? You can just speak to it. This is where numbing, and everybody has their coping mechanisms. Everybody has their favorite ways of escape, whether it's, doom scrolling, whether it's, addictions of one form or another. I, for sure, came from that, have that, totally understand, because sometimes the emotions are so hard to feel that we just need something to numb it. Dry humor is armor. This was also me, or being like, just using humor as a coping mechanism. And again, I want to state, and I've said this many times, humor is one of the most powerful tools for alchemizing energy. It is one of the most like if you can come into your life and approach it with a good sense of humor and, with like a childlike wonder, you are going to go places. But the humor I'm speaking to here, right, is where it's more of like a deflecting, where it's just kind of like you can create a joke so that you don't have to feel, right, or you can use humor to deflect, to not let yourself be seen or others see you. And it's a calm that isn't a peace. It's more of like a disassociation, right? It's a pulling away. It's coming out of the body. Anything that is pulling you out of the body, right? That is how we know, okay, we're out of balance, because we need to come into the body, into the present, into what is, because that is where creation lies. Um, so what feeds a tide and what dams it? Well, what feeds it is feelings that are named out loud, right? Tears that are allowed to finish. I had someone ask the other day, they were like, I'm grieving a lot right now. How can I make this process go faster? Or how can I get over it? Right. And the answer is stop trying to get over it. Stop trying to make it go faster. Fully allow yourself to feel into that grief. Provide a safe container, right? Whether it's through music or something that allows you to fully tap into it and just be in it, witness it, feel it fully. And I promise you, with a lot of these emotions, as you feel them fully, the more fully you feel them, the more divinity you're going to feel into it as well. Because remember, light and shadow are just two faces of the same divine source. And so the deeper you go into the shadow, you're going to witness the light. The deeper you go into light, you're going to begin to witness your shadow. And it is a repeating infinite process, because they are the same, expressing differently. And so you do not need to be afraid of these emotions, like grief, for example. And as you allow yourself to sink fully into it, you're going to be fully held. You're going to be able to witness what is, and love is going to fill that space. Okay. So it's that safe witness, right? It's moving water. It is showers. It is rivers. It is rain. It is asking what is here and then waiting for the answer to come in, right? And sometimes the answer isn't a logical answer. Sometimes it's not felt with the mind. Sometimes it's truly just an emotional experience. There is a reason why being in a river or a waterfall or the ocean literally recharges you. Okay. It is the same thing with your emotions. We can take that literal physical example and we can apply it to the energetics here as well. But water that is starving is the water, again, that's like, I'm fine. It's busyness. I misspelled busyness there. Or maybe I didn't. Is it BUSI? NESS, that looks a little bit better to me. I don't know why I did a Y. But it's busyness that is basically that numbing. It is judging the feeling before it even lands, right? I'm not allowed to feel angry. I don't want to feel guilt. I don't want to feel shame. I don't want to feel lust. I don't want to feel whatever it may be, because it's bad. And just not allowing it to be there, versus like being in it and being like, wait a second. So what is this showing me? What is it teaching me? Right? It is comparing your emotions to someone else's emotions, right? It's swallowing the sentence that wants to come out. It needs expression. The reason why you're feeling it is because there's something that needs to be witnessed. So here's what we can do with the emotional body. We can grab our journal, or sometimes it doesn't need to be journal. Sometimes it can be a mental process. And you can say, what am I not letting myself fear right now? I want you guys to sit with that for a minute. What are you not letting yourself feel? Could it be fear? Could it be discomfort? Could it be joy? Could it be love? Could it be peace? Could it be anger? Could it be rage? What emotion are you not letting yourself feel? Then, whose water or whose emotions am I carrying that are not mine to hold? Right? Because some of us hold water that our container is not meant to hold. And so we're consumed by it because we're trying to hold too much and it's not ours. What feeling do I judge most in other people? So, what are the feelings that you witness or the expressions you see in others and you judge them the most, right? Because if you judge it or if it triggers you, you can look inwards and see what that is for yourself. When was the last time I let myself cry? Did I stop it? What stopped it? or what finally allowed it? And then what does my body do the moment a feeling starts to rise? Okay. I want you guys to go deeper with this, right? When I give you these meditations, I want you guys to do them in your own time, in your own space, with as much time as you need to go through them. And the only reason why I'm going to go a little bit quicker through this is because, like I told you guys, I'm at that apex in my fast, and it feels like I'm in the middle of the ocean right now. And so I want to give all the energy that I can while also taking care of my body, right? And being like, all right, give the energy, but go rest. Um, so when you find these emotions, you can ask it and just simply be in the space and let it answer. And I promise you, they always have the answer. It always has the answer. The ego is going to want the answer fast because the ego has timelines. It's got places to go, places to be, right? Let me ask this grief to come in and tell me right now. But love holds space. Love holds space for evolution, infinite time, right? And so when we're in love, we're just allowed to be in silence. Sometimes the anger just wants to be felt and it's not ready to answer. And you can just feel into it and just be in that anger and give it a safe space, right? Give it a container. What I would do is, sometimes when I wanted to do something, but I would be consumed by an emotion, I would give myself 4 or 5 minutes to just be in that emotion, right? Be in a safe space, let it express, use music if that was something that would help me, and call it in, and then just feel into it fully and completely. And then after the end of the 5 minutes, if no answers would come in, I would just be like, hey, I validate you. I love you. I see that you're here to teach me, but also I need to take you off center stage now because there's some things I need to do. And I promise you, when the time comes, you will get center stage again. And it allows me, right, to kind of govern these different storms that are within me and be effective, right? Still create, still move forward while also allowing the space and the time for these emotions to move through. So if you so one thing you can do right now is bring up one fear that the fire night surfaced. If you guys remember the fire night, like fears around your spiritual body, not being good enough, comparing, losing your path, right? These different things. Or you can bring up one feeling that you named in the audit from that night. Okay. And then close your eyes and just drop into it. And where in the body does this fear, where do you feel this fear, or what do you feel in your body? Remember, your body is highly, highly intelligent. And a lot of times, somatic healing or working with the body, you're not even going to get answers in your head, and it's still going to expand you. You don't need to rename it. You just need to feel into it. Okay. The size, the weight, the temperature, the texture, the movement. Just feel into what it feels like. Allow yourself to be perceptive of the machine that you are, right? And the feelings and everything. And then ask one question. How long have you been here? How long have you been here? And just be in that silence. There's a beautiful meditation technique. I think a lot of times people think that meditation is simply like clearing your mind and just being in stillness. And that is one aspect of, a specific branch of meditation, but there are many others, right? One I described to you guys is Wu Wei Golden Thread. It's one of my favorite meditations because my ADHD brain loves it. It's the constant asking of questions. Why? And you keep going deeper. Um, Another meditation technique that I just learned about is monks will specifically try to just recall all of their childhood memories. I do not remember a whole lot from growing up. Like I just don't have memories of it, right? And they say it's a beautiful technique to get reconnected to yourself where you just allow the presence to tap into whatever it can to reclaim these memories because they're all contained within you, right? It's just the conscious mind can't tap into it, but they're all within you. And so you can ask, how long has this been here? And the answer is inside of you. Give yourself the space to feel it and for that answer to come in. Whatever answers, whether it's a memory, an age, an image, that is a source, right? And write it down. Because again, we're not here to change anything. We're not here to force anything. This is just simply data aggregation. Okay. This is simply witnessing oneself. and then let that water move. Guys, you need to have practices to let water move daily. Daily. I love like qigong. I love like the cool, like movements that you find in the East, waking up the body, nice stretches, getting the energy moving. Christine and I, she will put music on every day and we dance. That is very tough for me. I need you guys to know that, like, so obviously I grew up, I think I've told you multiple times, right? Born into the Mormon church. Now, this has nothing to do with the Mormon church, but it's very well, I guess it does because it's kind of like this energy of like suppression, and oppression. And so I have always, I can when I'm in a room with people, it's like I can express, I can be funny. I was always like the class clown because I loved using humor. But you put me on a dance floor, I could not dance. I could not let myself be seen in that way, right? And I remember the first time I met Christine, it's like we had all these crazy spiritual experiences, our union coming together where we're like, oh my gosh, like, how do I know so much about you with not even knowing you? I know your soul, right? And I went and visited her, and Christine loves to dance. Like, that is her. She has her dancing practices every day. And I was meeting up with her and she's like, we need to go dance. And I was like, oh, I don't dance. And she got the most serious face and looked at me and she was just like, you better figure out to dance or else this will never happen, you know? And I was just like, oh, okay, it looks like I need to learn how to dance, right? And I have since learned that, dancing is something where it's like allowing yourself to be seen, allowing yourself to express, allowing yourself to just be and not care, right? I cared so much. It's like, well, I'm not a good dancer. What are people going to think? If any of you feel the same way, you need to immediately bring in a dancing practice because you need to remind your body that you are safe to be seen, safe to express. You need to stop judging. Like, this is like paramount for you. If you are afraid of dancing, you need to do it. Have a daily practice. Turn on some music and allow yourself to dance, right? Move these emotions. Allow yourself to be. Rage rituals. Christine teaches these all the time. They are very powerful, especially if you have experienced heavy traumas, if you are born into traumas, if you are a woman that he comes from a line of being suppressed, you come from lines of women who just been shut down, suppress their anger, their rage. And that is power. That is a gift. That is a gift because it is so much power that is going to go towards your creation. But you need to feel safe into feeling into that energy, right? And not being consumed by it. So, rage rituals are extremely powerful. If you need help with a rage ritual, you can just throw it into the comment. And when Christine comes back from Europe, I'll have her give an example of rage rituals because she teaches them and they are extremely powerful. They are extremely releasing, very somatic, and they are very expansive. But have rituals and then in your evening just write a sentence, right? I'm just trying to the whole idea with this is to get into the point of view where you can look back on what you're experiencing, right? You can review, you can step into that observer or the awareness. So you can write down a sentence. What emotions did I swallow today, right? What was something I didn't allow to express? And then what did I allow myself to express? That is going to be very, very powerful for you. So, what does balanced water feel like? Okay. It is feeling safe enough to fully feel. You do not have to suppress. You do not have to reject. You can let yourself be in it. There are people in my life where, what we need to understand is there are people in our lives that are meant, they are divinely designed triggers. All right. They are triggers. They are meant to prod you, poke you, to show you where expansion still lies. Okay. When these triggers come in, there's a lot of emotion. And sometimes, it's like I'll have someone that like triggers me, right? And it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm so angry. I do not just suppress it and say, this makes me angry. I need to, go for a walk or whatever. So it's gone. I let myself feel into that anger fully. I go into a room, scream into a pillow, punch a pillow, like, this is so frustrating. Let yourself feel it, because if you can feel it fully, it's not going to consume you. You're going to move through it. And then it's just kind of like, cool, let me reclaim that energy. Now let's move on. I thank you for being that trigger, right? I think I told you guys some of the meditations and different things I've had about people in my life that are massive triggers. And in these meditations, they were just bowing to me like actors. And it's just like they are just playing a role. And 5 stars to them. They're killing it. They're knocking it out of the park, right? And so, but balanced water is to feel without drowning, but also allowing yourself to feel. It is empathy with a shoreline, right? A container. That is what is very important. Grief that is allowed to complete itself because it's felt fully. Joy that does not have a guard at the door. Okay. You do not need to collapse your joy. You don't need to be afraid of feeling joy. You need to recognize that joy is your birthright. And even if not everything is going well, you can still feel joy. You can still feel gratitude. You can still feel this like wonder. It is a tide that comes in and a tide that goes out, right? We see these examples expressed in the mother nature everywhere, the cycles. There is no suppression. It is just all allowed to be. And it's in that being that life is generated. And you can remain, right? Untouched, unbroken in those energies. Your feelings aren't what is consuming you. Okay. It is the refusal to feel and the refusal to acknowledge them. That is generally what consumes us. All right. Our emotional body, right? This is one of our feminine expressions. It is so divine. You literally are the formless that took on form to experience emotions. Your emotions are a guide, it is a map telling you where to go, where expansion lies, where we collapse ourselves, where we're afraid to express, right? We want that guidance. We want that information because that information is what takes us into our expansion, which is why we're never afraid, my friends. We are never afraid to feel in any way. Our emotions are divine. They are holy. They are sacred. Your body is a sacred and holy temple that allows these expressions to come in. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them into the comments really quickly. But I just want to finish with a few things that are just coming to my mind that maybe don't have to do with water, but I just want to, again, put these reflections out there and give you these remembrances. All right. You are the form and the formless. Spiritual truths require embracing paradox. You, the character that you are right now, the human being that you are, the emotions that you feel, the desires that you have, all of it is a perfectly designed divine flower in this garden bed that we are in. You are the only person who can witness the flower that you are. You are the only one that can study the petals, that can study the colors, the markings, and witness all of it. Okay? In that witnessing, then you get to choose whether you express that beauty and allow it to be shown or whether you suppress it. No two flowers are the same, which is why you do not need to inherit somebody else's path or their belief or what you think you need to do to be happy because someone else told you it, right? Your flower has all all of it expressed in its design. And it simply comes down to you as the formless aspect to witness that flower. This is what it means to come into non judgment, the witness state, right? To see what is, to see the flower petals, to pull in that data aggregation, to see the emotions, the fears, the thoughts, and simply to learn from them. It's so cheesy, but I will like separate from myself many times and I will look at myself in the third person. Where is he afraid to express? Where is he afraid to surrender? Where does he feel like things aren't going to work out? Because that's where I remember as the formless aspect to remind him that it's all working out, that I got his back, that I am literally that divine source that is in expression. And my whole job is to make his dreams, his desires, his wishes, his highest fulfillment of who he is come true. But he doesn't need to desire things that aren't his. He doesn't need to chase what isn't his. He just simply needs to be. He simply needs to express, and he's safe to express, right? When you can embrace that paradox and witness the duality and create a space of love where the self, where that flower feels safe enough to fully express, this is where you are going to see, right? Where does the expansion lie? This also doesn't have to do with water, but you're curious about mine and Christine's opinion on the ideal human diet. Just wondering what you guys eat. Oh, yeah. What I would tell you is the ideal human diet is what you feel called to do. Okay. I know that there's many people, right, who for spiritual reasons take a path of like veganism, right? Because they don't want to eat any animals because animals are conscious. I value that path and I see, the divinity and the expression in it, and I can totally see why many people choose that. But also I can witness the path that many others take, where it's like you can look at many indigenous, right, who witnessed all the web of life as their brothers and sisters, and still consciously consumed animals, right? Did it in reciprocity, and in the right way. And so, what I would say is the most important thing when it comes to your diet is that number one, you are treating your body like a temple. Okay. Christine was the greatest teacher of me for this because I used to just buy whatever was the cheapest because I was so in the scarcity mindset. And I also want to say this to everybody, right? We all have limitations. And so, right relationship also comes within the parameters of your limitations, you know? Um, but I would used to just buy whatever was the cheapest because food was just fuel. And it was just like, whatever, as long as I solve hunger, then it's good. And Christine really taught me, no, your body is a temple. Like this is such a diverse ecosystem. You are made up of billions and trillions of cells that are all contributing to you having this life. And the most loving thing you can do for your body is to make sure that whatever you are consuming or eating is a fuel source, right? That treats that body with the love and the respect and the divinity that it is. I always say there is no temple more sacred than the body you are in. And so, what I would say with diet is it comes down to follow your inner guidance and intuition. Fall into the paths where you feel pulled. I don't adhere to anything that is strict, but I will say, there are times where I feel okay. Right now is I only want to eat fruits and vegetables. There's other times when I know that the meat is handled in a good way, and I feel called. Right, my body feels like it needs it, and so I allow myself to eat it, and I give thanks to everything because the thing is, it's not even meat that's conscious, right, guys? Plants are also conscious 1,000%. Science is starting to show that plants also feel pain. There's a beautiful branch within the dharmic path that's called Jainism, and they just live on such an edge of like really wanting to do no harm within the world. And it is so beautiful to witness people with those beliefs and just see how they view the world and take it into your perspective where you can be like, wow, look at the care that they put into not hurting another. They will walk with like in the very orthodox branches, they will walk with brooms and sweep in front of them just in case there's a bug or something. They will wear masks over their mouth so that their breath doesn't harm anything that is flying in the air. They will not consume any root plants because to consume a root plant, right, like a carrot or something like that, it kills the entire host. The only things they will consume are plants that are not the roots so that the host can continue to survive, but they can thrive. But again, I just want to remind you all everything is the same source that is manifesting. Everything is conscious. And so the most important thing that comes with like the food that you consume is the gratitude that you feel, the reciprocity, even if it's something where you're just like, hey, I have to get something quick and it's fast food and I know this isn't the best thing for me. Sit with that food, bless it. Bless it that it will bless your body. Say that I know this is serving me. I know that this is okay for me right now. I'm so grateful that this is what I have, right? I would say the energy is the most important thing here, far more important than anything else, and then following your intuition. The other thing that I do want to mention with water is, my friends, speak into your water before you consume it. Affirmations, things that you're searching for, guidance that you would like to receive. Okay. Water is living and it contains within it so much information. And it's also a very powerful way to focus your energy with intention, right? So speak into your water before you drink it. You can pray into your water. You can put, mantras or affirmations, whatever it is that you're looking for. But that's what I would say there. I am going to tune out. There's a few times where I kind of like closed my eyes when I was talking and I felt like I was going to fall over. And so I'm going to listen to my body and understand that this is my limit for today. I love you all. We are going to be diving into our air bodies and then our earth bodies, right? Again, the air is another masculine body, the earth is another feminine body, and they are all necessary for us coming into balance. And so I love you all so much. In Lakech Alakin. I will see you tomorrow. Spend some time. If you want more from this, just rewind the live and do those journal meditations, okay? Dive into the emotions you're allowing yourself to feel and not allowing yourself to feel. Remember, it's all pieces of you. It is all energy. Make peace within your home. I love you. Bye.